Gen X, are you ready to be old? I didn't think so. Neither am I. But here's the truth. Life after 55 can throw you a few sneaky curveballs. In this video, I'm walking through 8 things that showed up in my life, and I want to know if they've been creeping into yours as well. Okay, first on the list is financial stress seems to hit deeper at this age. You know, when you're younger, everyone you know is living paycheck to paycheck, so it just seems normal. But after 55, mistakes, they sting a little more. I'm harder on myself, thinking that I should know better by now. But I have found that there is a positive side to all of this. There's a new seriousness that kicks in that, in my case, wasn't there before. Now I've got this mentality, it's now or never. And that focus has helped me make some positive changes to my finances. Now, has it just been, a bed of roses now that my mentality has shifted? Of course not. And I still make mistakes. And, even though I know I can be really hard on myself, I have to remember that I am smarter about money now than I have ever been in my life. But I know there is still so much more for me to learn. Okay, number 2 on the list is seeing this older woman in the mirror. I still feel young inside, and then I see a photo of myself, and it's like a punch in the stomach. It's like, what in the world has happened? And this can hit especially hard for women. But I know the guys, they have to see it in themselves as well. Everything on the outside signals age, and it's a tough pill to swallow sometimes. I try to tell myself, though, that my inner self is sharper and wiser and stronger than ever. And I think that's what we all have to tell ourselves, is that what really matters and what's really always mattered is the inner self. Number 3 is energy depletion comes so much quicker. Pulling 12-hour days, they're not as easy as they used to be. And while this isn't a surprise, we all know that inevitably these types of things will happen with age. It's still kind of a bummer because I'm just used to hustling, and never running out of gas. That was decades ago. Now here we are. So what have I learned from this? I know that for me, my energy is going to be the highest in the first half of the day because I'm kind of a morning person. I'm wired that way anyway. So I know when I've got some physically demanding task to get done on that particular day, it's got to happen before lunchtime. Otherwise, it probably won't. And I also know that I manage my time so much better than I did 10 years ago, even 5 years ago. And maybe it's, we realize that time is a lot more finite, but then we get to know ourselves better too. There is a wisdom that we acquire, in our 50s that's just not there when we're younger. I think about my younger years and all the time I wasted. When I look back on all of the weekends that I spent playing video games 20 years ago, I can look at the things now that I get done in a day, and even though I may have less energy than I did 20 years ago, I feel like I get so much more done now because I don't waste as much time as I did when I was younger. Let me know if you've found that to be true with your own self as well. And number 4 is, have you found that your sleep is a lot more finicky? You remember when you could crash anywhere? The floor, the couch, a tent. It didn't matter. I remember those days. But now I've become so picky. I know I said in a previous video that I feel like I've become the princess and the pea. I have to have a certain pillow, a certain number of pillows. When I see people traveling with their own personal pillows, and I'm not talking about the neck pillows. I'm talking about a bed pillow. You see people traveling with those. I get it. I get it. I didn't before, but I do now. But what I've learned is that until I can retire and throw out the alarm clock, I'm just going to focus more on quality over quantity when it comes to my sleep. Okay, number 5 is food starts fighting back. I used to eat anything at any time of day or night and not worry about any of it. I could eat and go straight to bed on it. I'm sure many of you remember those days as well. But what I've learned now is that all of that food that I was eating haphazardly, it's been quietly behind the scenes working against me. You start seeing things showing up in your blood work or your lab work, whether it's cholesterol numbers or blood pressure, blood sugar. Most all of it is food related. And I have to admit that I had a difficult time giving up some of the foods that I've always loved. Get real, it was mostly fake foods that I'm talking about. And I'm still a work in progress with those things. Now, I know for me, I've found it's not really that difficult to add in healthier foods. It's just getting rid of the unhealthy ones along with it that proves a little more of a challenge for me. Now, if you're finding this video interesting so far, please hit the like button. Also, subscribing is easy and it's free, and I really appreciate it. Okay, number 6. I am much more sensitive to noise and crowds now than I used to be. Now, this one kind of surprised me. Some of the others, you kind of know they're going to come. But this one, now I don't even want to go to Trader Joe's anymore. And that's pretty huge because I'm a Trader Joe's fan. But it's so packed. And I don't feel like I can even pick out my romaine lettuce or my baby spinach without being pushed. Now, when I was younger, crowds were exactly where I wanted to be. That was the sign that I needed to be there. Now it's the opposite. I found that I'm looking for more peace in my life, not more chaos. So let me know on this one for sure. Is this something that has happened to you as well? You used to like the hubbub and now you find that you don't. Because I don't think I like it very much. Now, I do want to be more peaceful and be attracted to more peaceful situations. That I like. But I hate that I'm just avoiding things now because of the noise or the crowds. But maybe it just comes with the territory. Okay, number 7 is identity starts to shift. Now, I never had kids, so I wasn't expecting some huge role reversal in my 50s, empty nest or, the kids leaving home. That wasn't a part, of my 50s future. So I just figured I was just going to continue on being the same person that I'd always been. No, that's not really the way it happened for me. But I think most of us in our 50s, and it's not just external circumstances that cause these role changes or identity shifts. There's an internal shift as well. And I know for women going through menopause totally changes our internal thinking and the way we see the world. I can't even explain it, but if you're a woman, you know that. But I know, it has to happen with guys too, because even when I was a kid, you would hear about men having these midlife crises. I know for me personally, becoming a caregiver in my 50s, that was extremely difficult for me. Because this is not something I saw myself, becoming. This was something that caught me off guard. So it took me, a few years to even surrender to that new, role in my life. So, if you've experienced, a role reversal or an identity shift in your 50s, or even if it's just something internal, something, it's different now, share it with us, because I'd love to read about it in the comments. So, hey, Benji, you want to say hello? You want to say hello? Look over there. Look over here. The window. That's his favorite thing. Okay, number 8 is chronic low-level pain. It just kind of moves in and stays, although it kind of migrates from place to place. I mean, it feels like something I'm dealing with all the time. I'll tweak my ankle, I'll deal with that for a month or so, then, I'll get that to where it's okay, then it's the back, and most of the time, I have no idea what I did to cause it in the first place. Now, I know it's a combination of all the abuse that we put our bodies through when we were younger, and the fact that we just don't bounce back like we used to. I know when I have pain, it forces me to pay attention and to listen to my body. I know that I've been working on a lot of weak areas, and I've tried to improve my posture. I had horrible posture when I was younger, but I know it's probably just going to be something that we continue to deal with as we age. For me, aging feels a little easier when I know I'm not the only one going through it. And that's why I love making these videos, so we can rally together like we did 30, 40 years ago in high school, just in a different way now. But the good news is none of these things I mentioned are deal breakers. They're just reminders to us to adapt. And Gen X has always been great at adapting. So I feel like we kind of have an advantage in that department. I also made a video about what it really means to be Gen X today. I'll link that here. Check it out and let me know what you think. May the force be with you as you go about your week. I'll see you in a few days. Bye.